Well, hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the Reforming Nerdom podcast. I am your host today, Jordan Cecile, and I am joined by one of the three amigos, Mr. Pastor Ben Emery, a.k.a. Ben of the Cloth, a.k.a. Benjamin. Ben, how are you doing?
Doing okay. Don't forget Jiffy.
Oh, Jiffy, yes, for peanut butter. That's right. Inside baseball for those who were
literal
weren't
inside
listening.
baseball, but yeah,
Literal inside baseball. Yeah, so Jiffy, there's a new one. And we're
do
also
well.
joined by very special guest, the one and the only Brent Baughman of Baufman Bricks, also a massive Star Wars fan. Brent, how are you doing?
Doing very well. Very excited to talk about Andor.
Yeah, so that's what we are doing, listeners. We are talking about Andor Season 2. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do an episode-by-episode review because they released it in batches, and then all of our kind of conflicting schedules and things were just very, very difficult to be able to review 3 episodes at a time. So here we are. We're going to do a full Season 2 review, talking about the things we liked, what we didn't like, overall thoughts, and what maybe considerations for what this means for future Star Wars content. But Benjamin, you're the lead on this one, so I'll let you kind of start our conversation about Andor Season 2.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the intro, Jordan. Now, as we often did with, if you kind of watched through with our Skeleton Crew reviews, we started off. Now I just gotta pull it up here because I left it. Oh shoot! But we start off. Pull it up here. Season 2 details. So, each week we just kind of give you a rundown of what the episode was like and as far as time and everything like that. And I totally lost. Oh my goodness, this is terrible.
This is good radio.
This is amazing. Where did it go? Okay, we have Andor Season 2, 12 episodes, 10 hours and 30 minutes of runtime. If you're wondering why we couldn't get the episode by episode reviews done in time, but 10 hours and 30 minutes of runtime for this season, written, created by Tony Gilroy, as well as some other writers involved as well, but Tony was the main guy there. And then we have 3 main directors that directed all 12 episodes: Ariel Kleeman, Janice Metz, and Alonzo. I'm not even going to try and pronounce this guy's last name. Alonzo, I don't know. Ruiz Palacios is my best guess. So overall, I think you look at the reviews, you look at the IMDb, everything seems to be a raging success by every sort of metric out there. Overall, how would you guys rate your experience watching? Like, does your experience match what seems to be the overall, kind of general public's experience with Andor Season 2?
Mr. Baufman, since you are the one out of the 3 of us who actually makes money off of Star Wars, you give us your
Don't tell Disney.
thoughts.
They'll say it too loud. They're gonna come for me.
Yeah, you give us your thoughts. What were your impressions of Andor?
I really liked it. I liked the first season, and I really like this season. I thought it met it at the bar that it left it off, and then it colored in between season 1 and Rogue One really well. Gave a lot more, kind of detail behind Rogue One going into it. Pretty much on par with what the majority of people out there on the internet are saying. I agree. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm really happy that other people are acknowledging, like, yeah, this is some of the best Star Wars we've gotten in the Disney era. So, yeah, as simple as form. Yeah, I loved it. It was awesome.
Good. Yeah, I think I saw that it set a record for, it had 5 episodes in a row, and I think it was the last 5 episodes where it hit 9.5 out of 10 or better on the, I think it was IMDb. I can't remember which. I'm pretty sure it was IMDb.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a huge hit for Disney, for Star Wars, like unequivocal. Jordan, like, were your pretty much the same
Yeah.
as
Oh,
Brent?
yeah. I mean, we'll get into some of the things that, I mean, maybe put a bit of an asterisk beside that. Like Nate or Ben, you and I discussed it with Nate last week. Just a couple of those things that came up that were just, it's hard. I mean, like we won't be able to watch it with my kids. I mean, my young kids anytime soon, which is disappointing. But I think in terms of the type of content that we're getting out of Disney and just generally in TV, like this was a shockingly good piece of media. I thought it was writing was excellent. I think the acting was excellent. Like, man, some of these actors are just, uh, I don't know if these qualify
Yeah.
for those like Emmy awards. I mean, what do awards mean anymore these days? Just again, usually like woke liberal propaganda stuff, but it's like some of these performances were just fantastic. And like the music and the set design, just the cinematography, like it really did feel like you were watching 12 movies. Like it felt the
Yeah.
production quality.
It's a
wa-
it's a ton of runtime. We're at like 10 and a half hours. Now, I think probably like 2 hours of that is credits because there was a
Yeah, there's a lot.
ridiculous
There's
amount
a
of
lot.
credits at the
Yeah.
end of each episode.
Yeah.
But even still, like, yeah, like the quality of the content was excellent
The,
as
the
far
only
as like compared to TV versus film.
yeah,
That said, they did spend like a $500 million to
sure
make it.
did. Yeah, I think
So
it was like 684 billion was the budget, or
yeah,
sorry,
like
million
they had
was the
a
budget.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, they had a movie budget to make a
yeah,
TV
they
show.
did. The only show that, I mean, admittedly, I don't watch a ton of TV anymore because most of it is just like actually unwatchable for like Christians specifically. But this show reminded me, or this season reminded me of the leap of quality with Stranger Things. If in like the last season of Stranger Things, where all of a sudden they were just like, okay, Netflix said we're going big, and every episode is going to be a movie. And that's kind of what this felt like in a similar way. Like even the CG was better than it usually is for a TV budget. Like everything about this felt like we're going big, and which is interesting because I was just reading an article a little while ago where they were saying how it if they had or they wouldn't the original plan for this show was 5 seasons, but then when they realized how big and grand this show ended up becoming, they had to pare it down to 2 seasons. But they were saying that it's good that Disney greenlit this back when they did, because
Mm.
otherwise it probably wouldn't have gotten made because the first season wasn't like the best reviewed thing that Disney, like I think Mandalorian had better critical
It
praise
was
and
really well reviewed. It just wasn't
yeah.
highly watched.
Yeah, so as I think it was The
Yeah.
Mandalorian kind of stole the honors of, like, their most watched thing, and this is I find this way better than Mandalorian personally.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think this is more enjoyable, and
I
better done.
So here's my maybe hot take is like I don't think it's a I actually think most people would agree with me. Like this is clearly a better show. Like in every objective metric, it's a better show than The Mandalorian. Um the show I'm going to watch again is Mandalorian season 1.
Yep.
Just
Yes.
yeah.
Cinematically, this was best, just on paper. It's like objectively, if you go down the
Yeah.
list, like acting,
Yeah.
writing,
Every
score,
single one.
CGI, yeah,
Yeah.
all of them just go to this. Mandalorian's the fun one that I'm gonna watch with my kids. I
Yeah,
can turn it on in the background, like, hey,
exactly.
let's watch it for the 5th time, and just let
Yeah.
it go. I can get up and go put something in the microwave. This, I am sitting down and I'm paying attention because there's a lot of details to pay attention to, and they're so well done. I don't want to miss
Yeah.
them for multiple reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so unfortunately, like we said, this is gonna be like a, high altitude, uh, hit the peaks kind of review. Maybe someday we go back and we do the like, hey, let's examine all the things in Luthen's museum archive and what are, like, because some of that stuff is fascinating,
It's cool. Yeah.
but just not what we're gonna be able to do today.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk about the way that this show was released. We sort of briefly mentioned it, but for anyone who hasn't watched Andor yet, unlike season 1, right? Season 1 of Andor was a sort of linear story from episode 1 to 12, uh, where this season is still linear, but with what is it? 3 1 year
Four.
time jumps in between the 4 arcs. So 3 episodes, 1 year time jump, 3 episodes. So there's 4. It's 1 season, but almost like 3 little individual season, or sorry, 4 little individual seasons within the overall season with a 1 year time jump in between them all. So, um, Brent, maybe off the top of your head, because I think I would say of the 3 of us, I think you were the one that was the most on top of this show, probably the one who was anticipating and looking forward to it the most. Off the top of your head, could you sum up without I don't, because I'm doing this without asking you to have done this, but could you kind of sum up for us each of those 4 arcs in like 60 seconds kind of thing? Just like what, generally speaking, was going on?
Oh man. All right, let's try this. So the first arc, we had Cassian kind of put on ice, where he's stealing the TIE Avenger, and then we have Mon Mothma doing her thing at the wedding, and they're killing off Tay and giving us some kind of background behind Luthen and some good conversations there. And then ultimately Cassian comes in and saves his friends who are over on the harvesting planet. And Brasso dies.
Yeah.
So I think I covered that one. I'm sure I missed
Okay,
a lot of
all right.
stuff. Yep.
So I changed my mind. Let's pause, okay? Because literally
There's so much. There's
literally
too
every
much.
single thing that you said there, I want to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't want to forget. So we have Cassian opening the show, stealing that like
TIE Avenger is what.
prototype TIE
Yeah.
Avenger type.
Was it said
thing.
what it was specifically? Like, because it
No,
was
I
like
don't
a test.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's.
okay.
I don't know it that well. I didn't even know of the TIE Avenger super well. I just saw on online people are saying, "Oh, that's most like a TIE Avenger, except it's really heavily upgraded with weapons." So
Yeah.
Okay.
But man, is it cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what a cool ship. And just like the weapons and the way that he flies it, like without a joystick, and like sticks his hand in the thing, and that was
Real quick,
super cool.
is there a current Lego build for that, or is that something that
there's a
will
lot of
be
people who have
incoming?
released a
Yeah.
TIE Avenger. I have not. I have contemplated it. I want to use derivative design of what I've already built. So take my TIE design and then adapt it to that, so that way they look like each other. There's gonna be a problem because my support that runs through the middle is going to gonna get in the way of the TIE Avenger. However, I may visit that one day. So at
Cool.
the moment, no. But I'm
Okay.
probably gonna give it some more thought in the future.
Now,
Yeah.
wasn't there a
Cool.
difference between, because the regular TIE Avenger is just like your 2 wings and the cockpit. Didn't this one have like a cockpit and then like a little thing off to the side? Or maybe not. I don't know.
I'm not super familiar with the TIE Avenger. You're not thinking of the TIE Interceptor, are you?
I'm totally thinking of the TIE Interceptor. Yeah.
Yeah, I
good
think
point.
TIE Avenger is an extended universe ship that, again, I'm not
Yeah,
super
no,
familiar
you're right.
with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just thinking of the wrong thing. So yeah, maybe this was just essentially a TIE Avenger, but
And I'll, to give a little, this is, I think, the weakest arc in him stealing that was getting a little goofy. Like he was bumping into a ton of stuff. I was like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
should have crashed this thing a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was more like Mandalorian and
Yes.
like Han Solo bumping into stuff, but it didn't feel like Andor from
Like-
season 1. And I was like, where's
Yeah.
this going? Like
I agree.
yeah,
I
I
thought
was a
it was
little
a-
hesitant when I went into that first episode. I'm going, all right, this is fun Star Wars, but it doesn't feel like Andor. Yeah.
Yes. I agree. As a cold open to Andor, I was
Yeah.
like, this is not even close to what I was expecting, just as like a general feel for what the show was going to feel like. And then I 100% agree. This was leaps and bounds the worst of the 4 arcs.
The worst
I
part
think-
is, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think the reason for that was to show like the chaos of the early stages of the rebellion, because he even said like his intel was wrong, and so I think that was probably why they were trying to make it seem like he couldn't fly this thing, because he had literally the wrong
It was the wrong
information
shit.
about
Yeah.
right, and it's so I think that's because that kept coming up about the need for a united rebellion, and so I think that's probably why that was.
Conspiracy theory. It feels like Disney got their fingers on it and said, hey, you need to make this more interesting to people who are coming in for the first
Yeah.
time and make it fun. That's
Who
what it
maybe
feels
didn't-
like. Yeah,
Who maybe didn't
speculation.
see season 1.
Exactly. Make it a
Yeah.
little more fun Star Wars with Cassian, and and then I think the worst part was him going to Yavin and getting stuck with those moron rebels. it just they put him on ice for at least an episode and a half. It was like this went nowhere. And then also I would have liked
was that Yavin?
yeah, that was Yavin. When he flew away, it showed the temples there. So it was like if he felt completely just wasted for at
I
least
didn't
an
even
episode
realize
and a
that.
half. Yeah, when he flew away on the second episode or maybe
Yeah.
third episode, it showed the temples there in
Oh,
the night
really?
sky. Yeah, so
For some reason that didn't even occur to me. So
I didn't see that until I saw an episode recap, and he was captured by the Maya Pai Brigade. I think
Yeah.
is what they were called.
Yeah,
The
they were
Maya
the
Pai
worst.
Brigade.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the lowest point, after that.
they were
yeah.
just a bunch of goofy morons that
Yeah.
for some
Yeah.
reason were trying to kill each other. And so the whole arc, I did not like that. I thought the what's his name, Wilmon on the the harvesting planet, like the wheat like the Ukraine of Star Wars,
Yeah.
was just being like, because he redeems himself and is actually a pretty good character the rest of the season, but like just so stupid in that little arc, like basically just kills Brasso because he has to go like give a goodbye kiss to his girlfriend. And
I love Brasso, by the way. Brasso,
yeah,
man,
Brasso was
Aw.
awesome. That was
I
such
know.
a
love that
terrible
character.
terrible exit for him, which
Yeah.
like, I mean, I actually don't mind just the way that this show is like.
Oh yeah. I'm good with killing
You know,
characters. I love the
killing
Aldani
guys
heist.
off, like I'm fine with that in
The
general.
Aldani heist from the first
Yeah, where
season,
half of them,
single blaster bolts were killing people. Things
Yeah.
were lethal. And I was like, oh,
That's
there are
right.
stakes to this show.
Yeah.
And that's why the TIE Avenger felt a little off of
Yeah,
Andor.
just
Just like, hey,
bouncing off walls.
things are supposed to get blown up and die pretty fast, in this show. Oh, we lost Ben.
We lost just my video for
Oh,
some
just a video.
reason.
Okay, keep talking.
Just a second. Just a second. Yeah, you guys keep talking for half a minute here.
Yeah, no, I like the lethality of a lot of Andor, and yeah, that's why that TIE Avenger bounced around on walls just didn't feel right. And Brasso just getting knocked out with that one blaster bolt from that stormtrooper. Man, I did love that character, but I'm fine with losing him. You kind of felt that.
Okay. Well, because he was the one who was kind of keeping Bix like around mentally and like sane. Like he was the one supporting her, and all of a sudden he's gone. It's like, oh man. I mean, and she does, as you see, she starts spiraling even more and starts becoming a drug addict essentially.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was a tough loss.
Yeah, and then she starts doing her like Star Wars blow, and then the other part I hated of that first arc was just the whole like disco droid
Yeah.
rave at the end of episode 3. Like it just completely ripped me out of a galaxy far, far away, and was just, now we're at the local bar down the street here where I live, and I don't know. I just did not enjoy that.
Even though that I thought was silly, I think the whole all the stuff there with Mon Mothma showed just how costly this was to her personally, and
I was gonna say,
and like
literally married off her daughter to get funds
but she
for the
also
rebellion.
but she also kind of like pieced out from her daughter. She's like, okay, well, get behind me. I'm done with you. Like it just kind of seemed like, all right.
Yeah, I was gonna push
Go do your
back a
thing.
little bit. That like I think that episode of her dancing and all that was probably, it might have been the finest acting in the entire series.
It
Because-
may have been, so
yeah.
I don't hate what they did, and I
Yeah.
don't hate the story that they were telling
Yeah.
with that. I just hated the execution of a literal disco
Rave,
ball
yeah.
droid.
Yeah.
Like,
But
I don't know, it's just,
because it was in that scene where like the music was building and Bix was being attacked, right? Am I remembering that correctly? Is that because like that music was like a build up,
were they
Yeah.
cutting back and forth between the two?
They were cutting back and forth a few times.
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
can't remember though if that's what it was, because I remember watching it and it at least felt like, okay, this is obviously building that intensity and you're watching it. I just can't remember if that was the reason, if it was
Yeah.
Bix being.
I remember seeing a trailer for this season 2, and I remember seeing that like a dancing scene. I'm like, what is that? Why is that
Yeah.
in Andor? And
But-
then honestly, they pulled it off. Like when
Yeah.
why she's there and why what she's doing, she's just like giving herself away. She knows her best, one of her childhood friends is about. about to get murdered.
knocked
because of
off and
yeah,
married off her daughter to a
yeah,
scumbag.
and like
yeah.
I don't dance and I don't drink and get drunk. I drink, but I've never been drunk and I've never danced like that. Like I could instantly relate like what she's doing, even though I don't even do those things. Like I thought it was very well executed and it actually made sense. Whereas when I saw that trailer, I'm like, that makes no sense for Andor. And then I was like, okay, like,
I
she did a
just
good job.
really, I just really,
The
really
disco, I got
want,
yeah.
like, there kind of is like a precedent for music in Star Wars, which like I don't expect it to be like the Biffs in the cantina. Yeah, do, 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 do. But there is like a, I don't know, there's a difference between that and like every other music we've ever heard in Star Wars.
Yeah, it was
It just seemed too modern
it
and
was very
too
Western culture wedding,
real world. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
I
like,
don't
"Hey,
know.
all right, here's the, reception, put the DJ out there." It
Yeah.
felt very whereas I did like a lot of the mundanity and changes in,
Yes.
what they showed us, like, they showed us a wedding on Chandrila. I thought that was really cool,
That
and
I
then
did
it
like. Yeah.
became a Western, uh, type of wedding that we're all used to. I'm like, "Ah, okay, this is feeling a little Earth-like,"
Yeah.
in that regard.
Yeah.
Did
So, go ahead, Jordan.
I was just gonna like on Tay, like Colma, her friend. I can't remember. Was there confirmation that was executed? Was that liability tied
Yes.
up? I can't
Yes,
remember if that
because,
was.
that's what leads to a really great point, I think, in the 3rd arc or the 4th no, 3rd arc, when Mon Mothma Luthen's trying to get her out of the Senate,
Yeah.
and she says, "How do I know? How can I trust you? You killed
Yeah.
my friend.
Yeah.
I'm a
She's like,
he was a liability. Now
yeah.
I'm a liability. Why wouldn't you kill me
Yeah.
right
She's
now?"
like,
And
what?
that was so good. When
Right.
that came
Yeah.
together and I was like, she actually has a really good point. Like,
Yeah, you
why
gonna
would
send a
Luthen
driver for me like you did for
Yeah.
Tay? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that
Okay.
was
Now
really
that you
good.
say that,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Now I remember that.
That culmination, like, oh man, that was so good. I loved that. Yeah.
Now, what was your thought, Brent, on the attempted rape scene? Because that was definitely something that was in the news. People were talking about it. How did you find watching that?
I thought they executed it really well, and I know the internet kind of went ablaze, and I'll break it down. It's like rape. We've never had that in Star Wars. We haven't had sexual assault in Star Wars. Um, and before going into the episode, I'd heard on the line like, "Oh, get ready, they ruined it." I'm like, "Oh crap, what did they do?" And then when I
What
watched it,
they
I'm
do
like,
now.
I watched it, I'm like, okay, like honestly, like Bix didn't come across as a girl boss. She didn't overshow or get anything torn off of her or sexualize it in too much of a way. She fought off a terrible, evil man in a way that was believable. And then she dropped the rape word, which people were kind of like, "Hey, you shouldn't use that word from Earth." But it's like if we're in a universe with male and female, that's inevitably going to happen. Evil men exist, and this dude played that part very well. She played the part to say no, and I don't think it was overdone or over dramatized. I thought they executed it pretty well. Um, and for those saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have this in this Star Wars story," it's like, well, we started this story in a brothel, and we've had murder. I haven't let my kids watch it. Um,
Yeah.
and honestly, looking back, I was talking about it with my wife. I'm like, I think I have a bigger problem with Slave Leia in her bikini than I
Yeah.
do with this rape
Yeah.
scene.
For real.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, this has a far more inappropriate scene later on in arc 2
Yeah, I think it's last episode of Arc 2, but yeah.
right? And it's like this is far less problematic. And I mean, I think to agree with what you're saying in that it's like and it's appropriate. It's like this is an adult show. Like they've never really pretended that this wasn't like
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew. They made it very clear by having children in it that this was a children's show.
Yeah, if
And
they'd
so I
done
think
that in there, I would definitely be like, heck no,
Yeah.
that's not
So-
right. Yeah.
Yeah, time and place, I don't hate it. I would have maybe gone just, dialed it back from like a 7 to a 5 sort of thing, but it's certainly not a 10. You know what I mean? Like they could have been way, way worse, way more explicit.
They could have implied some things,
Yeah,
know?
that's my I was just like, I would have maybe just shown a little bit less or
I was going
cut
in
to black a
expecting
little bit
an 8, 9, or
earlier.
10,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it became more of a 7 or 6. I'm like, oh, okay, that wasn't as nearly as bad as what the internet made me think it was before I saw the
Yeah.
episode. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and I so You know what? I'm going to save this question for later. Let's carry on. Why don't you give us your 60-second arc too, if you can remember.
Well, here, one thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay, yeah.
Because in this is where we have Krennic back, right? In this first arc at the episode 3.
That's right. Yep.
Man,
And so like
I love
I
that
think
guy.
wow, his like portrayal of that character of just the most punchable, like you wouldn't have thought that Palpatine could find somebody more punchable. Krennic to me is just like the most punchable, arrogant. I'm trying to like think of a movie where there's like a Nazi leader and you just see them. It's like the level of arrogance just like bleeding out of them. It's just, you just need to get punched. You weren't punched enough in your life. And that's like Krennic. And then even this comes up later in I guess it would have been the third arc where there's like all the propaganda, but even how you see he has these like ministers of communications or whatever come in to like spin the whole Gorman thing. And that to me
The
is
Mad
just
Men of Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was a little out of left field, but I was like, okay, I'm kind of down for this, and it summed it up.
But what I found fascinating and just shocking, and Ben and I were just talking about this yesterday, was I'm kind of surprised that they're bringing in that it's even a possibility to use manipulative propaganda to like change public opinion.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit too real and a little bit too what you guys have been doing for the last 5 years to actually come out and use it and show that it's like it actually even can be used to manipulate people. I thought I was blown away that they would even do that.
And just the way every single time they have one of those news reporters that are just like clearly the mainstream media of the Star Wars universe that are just like propping up the Empire's propaganda and messaging, and I just found it fascinating.
Oh yeah,
I can't believe they did it. I can't believe they did it.
There was a couple times where things touched almost like real life politics, and some people are trying to co-opt this to their side of the politics. I thought they did a really good job at showing just a historical, political, espionage show where, like for example, Dedra got emails that very reminiscent, reminiscent of what happened with Trump's administration, where they really were just dropping the ball on that.
So I joked to Jordan yesterday when we were talking that we literally have like the Death Star blowing up is thanks to some dude accidentally CCing Dedra on like some Death Star emails.
And then the other one that really touched, I was like, oh wow, this sounds really familiar. When Partagast says, oh, just say that she's a diseased woman, and then that ties them all up with that, and then they can't rush to go because they're all tied up. I'm like, oh, this sounds really familiar. You guys are all tied up with something you overblew.
Some pretend,
there's some really good correlations to real life. I'm like, that's what makes it feel so real. But like, it wasn't overdone to where it felt like they're preaching to us. I thought they did a really good job.
Ironically, like you said, each both sides are probably trying to co-op, because it's like I don't think they don't have to because like everybody thinks that they're talking about the other team essentially, right? Like, I think honestly my favorite part of this show, every time it cut back to the Imperials doing their thing, I enjoyed that, I think, more than anything. Like any scene with Krennic or is it Partagast? Is that his name?
Partagast. Yep.
Partagast, even Dedra and Cyril, like those scenes, those characters, I just thought they were so well done and well acted, and a part of Star Wars that has essentially been kind of just in the background, not anything that's like been explicitly shown. Like, the Imperials are bad, that they are working against, and like, that it's from the Emperor down, and he's like got his minions doing his bidding and stuff, but you just never really see the outworkings of, or the inworkings of that, and so I just found that fascinating.
I agree, and I thought the showing how even in these like evil regimes, it's actually largely a whole bunch of normal people who just think they're doing what they're told, and they just
a bunch of middle managers,
right? It's just like
trippy and
right, and it's just like, just do what you're told, and so they do what they're told, and so it's like you wonder how evil regimes pop up, and it's like, it's often just because people just are not willing to like go against what they're told, and they just do what they're told, and like all these little decisions build up to now the Empire kind of being what it is, right?
Yeah.
I just thought that was really interesting
Which
because
Cyril is kind of the like Cyril's a great character because I think like everybody can see themselves in Cyril, where they can see how they've been maybe duped in the past, and and then things unravel, and then again, just kind of hilariously, just I actually love that they didn't redeem him, or like they gave him like 5 seconds of redemption, and then you just get shot in the head.
I did not see that coming. Like from season 1, I was like, "What are they doing with Cyril?"
Yeah,
And then how they just tragically, poetically just take him out the way they take him out. Like he was just following the rules.
yeah.
yeah,
Like,
And
better than anyone.
yeah,
Like,
well,
he was
yeah.
the model imperial citizen.
Yeah, and, like, also, he felt very much like, the COVID rules follower, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you wearing your mask?" Like, he felt
Yeah.
like that guy, like, that felt like, from a few years ago, it was like, "You're not doing what they told you to do," and then he follows it so closely, it kills him, like,
Yeah.
he starts to have that turn right at the end, and I was like, "Oh, what are they gonna do with him?" And then him just getting shot, like, oh, man, just so unceremoniously, but
It's
so lethal,
ruthless. Yeah.
it really had an impact, yeah.
Yeah, it did.
well, and I mean, like we're kind of jumping ahead to that arc where I think that was arc 3, the end of
Yeah.
arc 3.
Yeah. Like
But
the Gorman Revolution or whatever, yeah.
it was just so funny how you can see how like Andor has been living rent free in this guy's head for years, and just sees him and starts attacking him. And at that part where Andor's like, "Who are you?" Like, he has no idea who this guy is, and Andor has been just ruining his life, making him just like hate everything. And then it just comes down to that where it's like, yeah, then he gets just shot in the head. But I just thought that was so funny how he's just like Andor is living rent free in that guy's head, and Andor has
Yeah.
no idea who he is.
Yeah. It made sense, like, why
Yeah.
would Andor? He's killing people, left and right in
Yeah.
much more terrible ways. Like, why would he remember this guy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Reforming Nerdom listeners. If you're the kind of nerd who fuels deep theological debates or marathon game nights with a great cup of coffee, you need to check out Cosmos Coffee Company. Cosmos Coffee Company is a Christian coffee roaster in White House, Tennessee, that provides freshly roasted coffee to customers all across the US and Canada. Whether you're diving into your next deep theology study or prepping for an all-night board game marathon, Cosmos Coffee has you covered. They have 7 great flavors, including the Pilgrim's Roast, a smooth, light roast with notes of blackberry, honeysuckle, and butterscotch, the Renewal Roast, a sweet Ethiopian blend with strawberry, agave, and peach, and for something extra nerdy, the Falcondra Roast, a medium Colombian inspired by Out of the Silent Planet with rich flavors of chocolate, brown sugar, and citrus. And because you're part of our nerdy fellowship, they are offering 30% off your first order for Reforming Nerdom listeners. Just use the code REFORMNERDOM at checkout. So, if you want to level up your coffee game, go to cosmoscoffeecompany.com, that's Cosmos with a K, and use Reform Nerdom, no spaces, to save 30% on your first order. Cosmos Coffee Company. Coffee roasted well for his glory, for the kingdom. Yeah, totally. All right, so Arc 2. Does anyone remember Arc 2?
It's kind of setting up the Gorman. That was when Andor went to Gorman and told them, like, hey, you guys aren't ready, and didn't give them an approval. And then that's
told
when-
Luthen to, shove it, and that's when he goes back and is that when he goes back to Yavin?
who
Is that like
no,
he
not yet.
kind of like leaves Luthen's?
No, he didn't, because Vel and Senta go, and then they have that where they steal the
that's
guns,
right.
and then at the end of the arc, Andor and Bix blow up the
Grost.
Dr.
right,
Gorst.
the doctor guy.
Gorst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some other stuff that happened in that arc that I'm not remembering, but it's pretty much setting up Gorman was the main thing, I feel like. For that arc.
I have some like stuff here. It's so he goes as Varian Sky, the Coruscanti fashion designer, and he meets with Caro Rylance, who is the leader of the Gorman
Which,
rebellion.
again, it's just like the French underground
Yes.
resistance, right? Like
Yes,
it's
I love that.
like not
I loved
even
it.
like a veiled.
Yeah.
I actually love that. I thought that was
Yeah.
so funny.
They execute it really well. I love the
Yeah.
they bring in a lot of different, cultures, and they make a really good job of just making the set pieces, the costumes, just like the art production and the culture and the thinking out those processes is just really well executed wherever they go.
I was just like waiting for like a chain smoking croissant eating like
There was
just
that one guy, the guy with the that kind of like thicker guy. He was a little bit like that.
yeah, he was. I
Yeah.
mean, so they were all French like actual French actors.
Oh, were they?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, they were, and I would love to. I'd love to get like a behind the scenes on how they came up with the Gorman language because it is clearly just like French but different. So
Yeah,
I'd be
it sounded
really,
like it had a bit of German or something in it at times too.
yeah, I don't know, but
Or
I'd be
like
really
Austrian
interested
maybe?
to see how they did, or like if one person just kind of came up with that, and but yeah, that would be cool.
So one of the things that I think is interesting with this whole Gorman thing is the fact that they're bringing Gorman in, and Gorman was a canon, or sorry, like an extended universe thing,
EU
I
thing,
believe,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And yet they're bringing it in here, and so it begs the question: is Disney pulling from that now? Like,
Knights of
is
the
this?
Old Republic, baby, bring it on.
Yeah. Well, I think what
So
they're doing, from all the things I've heard, I don't know for sure, but first off, Tony Gilroy, they hired him, and like he's said that he does not like Star Wars,
Yeah.
essentially. But they must have people all around him pulling in these things that they know from their knowledge and weaving in this really good tapestry of like good snippets from the extended universe, like the Gorman massacre. They made it 2 massacres. There was only supposed to be 1.
mhm. Yep.
And so the first one was Tarkin landing his shuttle and killing 500 people.
Yep.
And then
Like literally just landing on top of them.
which I mean, practically also looking at that plaza, I'm like, man, it'd be really hard to get that many people. Like,
Yeah.
but
And
overall,
you didn't move.
Maybe
the
maybe the
impact, yeah,
plaza was built after the fact,
maybe, yes, maybe,
around yeah.
yeah. So yeah, they weaved a lot of really good details, and I don't know the extended universe that well. I did not read the books. I just like to listen to a lot of people every once in a while, and they'll be like, "Oh, they did this, they did that. Did you see that?" And it's just amazing the details that they weaved in, because clearly Tony Gilroy and his group had people around them that know Star Wars, and they
Yeah.
executed it really well with those details. There was a fine attention to detail that I didn't hear many. Lore breaking things, or maybe some bending of things, but nothing lore breaking, like having forced children,
Yeah.
outside of Addington or anything like that.
I think one of the things I heard a guy say was K2SO's origin story they changed from, because I guess it originally
Oh,
when
was
Rogue
there
One came
another
out.
origin story?
Yeah,
Well,
there was like
yeah.
a comic, I think, where
Oh, okay.
where
I
Oh,
they
didn't know that.
introduced or a comic or a different story where I
Oh
think
yeah,
they
I think yes, there was a comic, but I also heard that they were supposed to have a dedicated episode to K2SO where they were
Mm.
on a ship with a bunch of K2S droids, or at least him, and it was going to be a horror episode. Like the whole episode was like him like hunting down people in a ship or something like that.
Oh wow.
But the budget didn't allow for it, so they had to cut it. Yeah.
Wow.
When I heard that, whoa, yeah, it was
I mean,
crazy.
you can see elements of that in like the hallway scene.
Oh yeah.
So that, I mean, that could be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you think of, again, we're jumping around. I don't care. That's fine. But now that you bring it up, what do you think of the K2SO, or well, not K2, the Imperial, what are they, security droids, or what do they call them?
K2
Um,
units, I think.
They're K2 units, whatever. Just as a for lack of a better word, like a character or a plot device, just in terms of like, on one hand, they're basically indestructible. On the other hand, like they shoot K2, like in
Oh
Rogue
yeah,
One, they shoot the one in the head one time and he's done, kind of thing.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah, I don't know.
immediately saw that, yeah, where they couldn't take him out, and but yet, Jin shot him, and he
Yeah.
died in one shot, the other, one, I immediately noticed things like that. Those things do bug me. overall, the rule of cool kind of ruled out for the day, and it was very cool seeing them just as these indestructible forces going through the plaza, and they were scary, just
Yeah.
throwing bodies.
Yeah, just chucking.
Yes. So I didn't like how indestructible they were. I don't know. Maybe some nerd has come up with some explanation. Well, actually, he didn't have his
Yeah.
repulsive metal that I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody could come up with an
No,
excuse for
that's
it.
fair. I am incredibly forgiving, generally speaking, especially in Star Wars. I like that. The rule of cool, where it's just like, you know what? I'd rather have those scenes with those droids than not. So
Yeah.
I'll take
Yeah.
I'll take the stupid inconsistency.
Yeah. Now, Mando will ride the rule of cool a little too much, where it really takes
Yeah.
me out. They've done that a few times,
They're just like,
and I'm more
whenever it's
forgiving with them.
convenient, feel
Yeah.
free to shoot me 1,000 times and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay.
So-
Anything else from Arc 2 you wanted to hit on,
Yeah,
Jordan?
I do. The gay stuff.
Oh, right. That.
Sorry. Yeah. That wasn't that
That
one.
was really disappointing
Yeah.
to because again, it wasn't just like a hug or it was like again, I didn't even watch the whole scene, but from what I saw, it was like that was like more than just a kiss. Like that was two women making it in front of us. And it was like that was disappointing to
Yeah.
see.
Agree. It was egregious. Like it was not like you want to talk about they could have cut to black or shown
Yeah.
less or whatever with the rape scene. Like this was infinitely worse. Just in how much it was in your face and shoving it down your throat, and yeah, very, very frustrating. Almost had me turn it off. Like
Yep.
if there was one more instance of it after that, like I'd have been done with the whole season. And then luckily they just killed her.
They did. Well, it was in my head though, because like I think when Vel was at the wedding thing, and her and was it Kyria or what's
Kira?
Luthen's Kira?
No,
And they-
Kira's Solo. What's her name? Isn't it? Is it Kira?
Is it Kira?
Wait.
Luthen's assistant. Luthen's assistant.
It's not Kira.
Clea.
Clea.
Clea, yeah.
Kira's the Solo's chick there.
Okay, yeah. So Clea, and they, it just now, as we were watching that, it made me just think like, oh dang it, are they just gonna make her and Vel now an interest? So like, it was just like in
That would've
my
been
head then,
terrible.
whenever you saw a woman character
Right.
then with her, it's like, well, obviously you're just gonna try to
Setting
make
that
it,
up.
oh, you poor thing, you lost your lesbian lover, we're gonna give you a new one. And I was happy they didn't do that. That was my fear then, was that they were gonna make Clea like that. So I was thankful that they ended it with Vel, but yeah, disappointing nonetheless.
I thought, well, one, that's the biggest issue I have as far as like, letting my kids watch this. Like that's going to be the biggest one. Like, hey, this is wrong, pointing that out. And by the way, like it will not be a while. My oldest is 7. We're not watching this for many years. I don't know. Into their teens. I don't know.
This
when,
one,
but
this one's
that would be the number one thing I would have a conversation with them about out of this whole series. I will say, to play devil's advocate, it's not like they were preachy about it or they were putting her up on a pedestal like she is like this arbiter of like the one who's doing the most good or anything like that, whereas other shows would do that. It was just like, okay, she's a lesbian, here she is acting it out, and here's a prolonged shot of them making out. I don't like it. I don't want to see it. I got it, she's a lesbo, whatever, let's move on. That but to play devil's advocate, it's like, okay, they didn't like overindulge like I've seen other shows do or try to make it a social agenda. Ultimately, yes, it is a social agenda. They put it in there on purpose. I'm not being fooled,
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't there, and yeah, that's the biggest issue I have with my kids watching this particular show.
Yep, same.
I would basically agree. And then the devil's advocate to your devil's advocate is like, we've never even seen a heterosexual like kissing scene that was as long and explicit and
Maybe
in Star
Han and
Wars.
Leia.
Not
Maybe
like
Han
that.
and-
Like this was like a
That-
legit,
I was trying to think.
That was
No,
I don't
yeah,
know,
it was way prolonged. Absolutely. Absolutely.
like just
that probably was the longest kiss ever in a Star Wars
might have been.
property.
It might have been. Yep.
So that's obviously very frustrating and put a damper on what was otherwise a pretty good show. pretty good arc. I would
Yep.
rank. Okay, so you got arc 1 or arc 2 better. Which one's better? Which one's worse?
I kind of
I
liked
really
arc 1.
okay. I liked arc 2. I enjoyed the Gorman stuff.
Yeah, I would say
and
as long as we can take out the kiss, it's
Yeah.
arc 2 for sure for me.
But I feel like the Gorman really came to climax the next arc, because like
True,
this was
100%.
a lot of setup, and
Yeah.
the gun smuggling wasn't nearly as big. It was kind of overshadowed by what's about to come in the next arc.
Well,
So
and overshadowed by the fact that they basically like let them do it.
yeah.
Right? Like it wasn't even there was like no stakes because you knew that they were letting them do it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the wedding conversations in the first arc. Luthen and catching those times to talk to Mom Mothma, which by the way
Yeah.
were like way in the open too much, but I really enjoy
Yeah.
those conversations. I like it when Luthen is playing the double-sided and putting his
Yeah.
and like he never really got to put it on his face except in that first arch, put on the face of Luthen, the art collector. And
Yeah.
whenever he can and play it up like, oh, Gorman, you say, like he's
Yeah.
playing up that artsy fartsy, flamboyant guy, and seeing him in that element, in that art, that wedding arc, and then her, knowing her friend's gonna die. That I really did enjoy that part of that arc, even though I didn't enjoy the Cassian part as much in that first.
Yeah.
Arc.
I love every time Luthen just doesn't want to talk to anybody anymore. He just becomes Luthen the art collector. And
Yeah.
it's just yeah, yeah. Oh well, I guess we'll have to catch up with like
I think that's like a testimony to the acting ability of Skarsgård. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Is that how you
so
pronounce it?
yeah.
Man, he just nailed that role. He played
did.
it so well. Like just sometimes literally like a flip of a switch, all of a sudden he turns around and he's now the art or art collector. I thought he was fantastic. And actually I enjoyed the scene in the episode when they're doing when all the people are around and they Clea has to try to get the bugged thing from one of the
Yeah.
art
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and just like that was just intense because like Krennic's there and they're walking
Was
around.
that a part of
and
the second arc?
It's either 2 or
think-
3.
I think it was.
I think it was 2 because
2.
they set up Bale.
Yeah.
They showed Bale for the first time.
Yeah,
in that
that's
arc.
right.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. I was in the second
Yeah.
arc. Yep.
And so that was just like
Yeah, that was a
intense
really
where
good scene.
Krennic is just like he's just that unnerving. He is the guy in Inglourious Bastards. You know that
yeah.
whoever that he's that similar kind of actor where it's
Yeah.
just like wow, just the smugness.
Honestly,
and he just feels like
it's
he's
like-
untouchable.
it's even his speech impediment.
Yeah,
Like
it's that little
adds to
lispy
the
thing.
like
I know.
sniveling.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like I don't know. Like it's great.
You're talking about Hans Lambda in Inglourious Bastards?
is that what it is? Hans
He's
Lambda?
a little more like refined, but no, I know what you're talking about though, where he has this kind of childness to him, where he's very
Yeah,
much
that's
going
it.
to get what he wants and he's after it.
Yes.
And he's just insufferable in that regard.
Yeah.
Hans Lambda or whatever his name is, he's a little bit different, where he's like more refined. He's like a
Is he-
smart guy, multiple languages and all that.
Is he the guy that's in Bond? Is that am I thinking of the right guy that was in? He was like the bad guy in the last couple of Bond movies.
I don't know. I haven't seen those.
Yeah, I haven't seen the last couple of Bond
Yeah.
movies. I don't know.
Well, never mind them.
Yeah, but
not
I
a
just thought,
good
yeah,
reference.
I mean, Krennic is such a good bad guy, and you just see it in here
Yes.
how uncomfortable he makes everybody because, I mean, they know that this guy is incredibly evil, and I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, it was a big win to be able to get him back.
Oh yeah.
And
play
that
play
was
that
one thing,
character.
just like as talking about one of the general things I liked about the show was that they were able to get so many of the people back from Rogue One, except for the guy
Bail.
who played
Bail
Bail
Organa.
Organa,
yeah, like that, and that was not because he wouldn't. It's just they couldn't do it because of scheduling.
Yeah.
So
Which,
it's just
like,
disappointing. And I thought
not
the guy the actor they got was good. Like I
Oh, yeah.
thought I didn't have any issues with it.
Is
It was totally fine.
Bratt, Benjamin Bratt, is that his name? He's great. Like he
Yeah, I thought he
honestly,
did a
if
great job.
anything, he's a better actor than the other guy. He just wasn't Bail Organa before. Yeah.
So I thought, and like enough of the characters that I can't even remember their names, but the guy who was at Yavin, like the main guy who kept getting mad at Andor,
Dresden,
he was there. Dresden, yeah.
Draven,
anyways, Draven, yeah.
or Draven.
I thought that was I thought that was cool how they, because after watching it on the weekend, I started watching through Rogue One, and it's like this picks up they teed it up perfectly. Like Cassian's wearing the same jacket at the end of Andor as he is in the beginning of Rogue One. It's like, oh man, this is beautiful, and now it just seamlessly blends into it. Loved it.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Arc 3. What happened? Bunch of Gormans got killed. Anything else?
Gorman massacre, and Mon did her speech to the Senate, and then she gets out of Coruscant with Andor, and this one was probably the most action and like biggest climax.
Yeah.
This was a good one.
Yeah. I mean, this is where you get Cyril's death. This is where
Yeah.
you get,
And that was the second one in the arc. Like, it wasn't even the climax of the arc
Yeah.
of this arc. Like, that was
That's
right
right.
before the Mon Mothma. So, like, it was a lot of big stuff going on. Yeah.
I thought the whole Senate thing with Mothma and Organa, I really enjoyed that. I liked the heisty, it's a heist and Mon Mothma is like the thing that Andor is stealing kind of thing. And just, I don't know. To me, this was my favorite of the 4 arcs for sure.
Yeah, it's between this one and the last one. I enjoyed a lot of the last one. Just kind of where those conversations went and what everything meant, But yeah,
I really liked the first like episode and a half of the last one, and then I thought kind of the last episode and a half were just like an
tying up
outro.
everything.
Just tying everything up, and so it was like wasn't the best, but the beginning of that arc was great with Clea, storming the hospital and everything. Like, I thought that was actually really cool.
I thought the Gorman massacre was excellently done. I wouldn't do anything different. I didn't feel as much as I heard a lot of other people on the internet saying, because I didn't know those characters as well. The Gorman, like, I didn't spend as much time with them.
No.
However, they executed it so well. I have no notes as far as like, oh, they should have done this. They should have. No, like they executed a large protest scene being instrumented in a way to where they fired the first shot, making it think it was the Gormans. I like that. How it all went down, made it scary with the K2 droids.
Sending a bunch of like rookie stormtrooper recruits.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Like just totally setting it up to fail on purpose. Like, really well done. Set up the stakes where or maybe not the stakes, but like set up those again, people you've seen for like a couple episodes, these random Gorman insurgents or whatever. To the point where you actually kind of feel for them, and like when they're doing their chant and singing their national anthem, you're like, like it's kind of moving, and I thought it was well done.
But again, how crazy is it that in it they showed that the media was spinning an insurrection?
No.
I couldn't believe it.
Turning a peaceful protest into
I couldn't
an
believe it.
insurrection.
Well, like that, and too, like, I mean, with all the the misinformation and conspiracy theories out there, like the bricks that Black Lives Matters protest and all that, like that was very reminiscent of the guy firing the bolt. I'm not saying the bricks that Black Lives Matter stuff is real or not, but like there's so many conspiracies out there where these things, you wonder, how did they get started? That was very reminiscent of the right wing and the stuff that they claimed happened. I think some of them are fake. I think some of them are possibly real, but like that was very reminiscent of our day and age here just a few years ago, and how these things get rolling sometimes, and how there is bigger influence from the actual the government or whatever the authoritarian entity is. That was kind of crazy that they pulled that in the playbook. I thought they wouldn't do something like that. So
I thought it would have been a little more ham-fisted. Imperials just doing, being Imperials and slaughtering people, but it was like, no, it was actually done in such a way that you could believe that the rest of the galaxy wouldn't just automatically be up in arms, because like what I mean? Like, otherwise, if they couldn't make it believable enough, then the stakes at the Senate are not right where it's actually believable that Mon and Bale are the only ones that are pro Gorman. Right. Otherwise it makes no sense. So they did a good job with that.
I was to say, it's cool to be in the Star Wars universe, and like they are limited by their technology. They don't have a cell phone, they don't have like personal recording devices on them all the time, and that's what makes Star Wars so great, is you can kind of tell these stories, and because like that just wouldn't It
One of my
wouldn't make
favorite
sense.
one of my favorite things, it's always been the case about Star Wars, is the fact that it's like this futuristic, sci-fi universe where you've got lightsabers and hyperdrives and space travel and all this stuff, and then at the same time, like, everything is analog and like, her, like, ham radio that she's using to, like, contact the rebellion and stuff. You're like, "Yeah, that's actually really, it's a really neat story device that they were able to, uh, put into that universe so that you could have, like, World War II type espionage happening while you're also traveling in space."
Yep.
Alright, so, uh, Brent, you said Arc 1 over Arc 2. Do you have Arc 3 over Arc 1?
I do. Yeah. You
Yeah.
gotta put Arc 3, I think, over that because it just ramps up so much more. I really felt the stakes too, and I don't know why because the Mon Mothma leaving the Senate, I was like, I know she's gonna make it. I know Cassian's
Yeah.
gonna make it. I don't know, just I liked. I was like, oh, what's going on? Like, how are they gonna get out of here?
Yeah.
Like, and then seeing that the compromised spy, and trying to uh, figure that whole situation out. Again, I know they're gonna survive, but it felt like there were stakes there. I don't know how or how they were able to pull that off, but they pulled it off really well.
I got a question for you guys. When you were watching when the Senate thing was going on and they kept cutting back, like when she got on the radio basically or on TV and it cut back to her driver who was like obviously an ISB plant, but then he kind of looked like to me that her speech
Mhm.
was sort of like changing his mind. And
I
then
wondered that as well.
and then her and Cassian come up and Cassian just shoots him in cold blood. I was like, "Oh, well, we'll never know."
I didn't get that, but man, I'm gonna have to maybe rewatch that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same, and because I wondered, it's like, oh, he's gonna come and tell her, like,
And like,
no, like,
well, I thought he
I
was gonna
want to
like
help
save the
you.
day. Yeah, and like
Yeah,
I
and
don't
then
know.
Cassian just like,
It would have been telling
Nope.
if he had his blaster on him when he got shot.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause
because he looks down. He even like while he's listening, he looks down at his blaster.
Because if he had brought his blaster with him, that would have meant he's going to go kill Mon.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's
But I
true.
don't know. I don't know if he took his blaster with him or not.
Yeah, maybe you can see it when after they steal the speeder back.
Yeah.
I'll have to look for that. That would be interesting. But either way, it was just like such a Cassian, right? Because it's even that was like your first introduction to Cassian in Rogue One. The first time you ever see him is he shoots his like rebel buddy who's like got a bum leg. He's like, "Oh, sorry, like I'm not gonna let you hold me up." So yeah,
I
I
think
enjoyed that.
one last thing from that arc worth mentioning is that Bix pieces out on Cassian.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, she says that she knows he's too important for the rebellion, and so she's gonna like hold him back. So which brings up if that's entirely her reason for leaving, as we get at the final scenes of the show.
Yeah, which
if she maybe
like,
knew
maybe she found out
something,
she was pregnant and
she knew that already, but yeah.
So one thing with that, like, did it not seem like Cassian got over that incredibly quickly and well? I don't know. I mean, I know there's like the time jump there.
It's at least a year. Yeah.
So I guess it's not really so much. I'm not blaming like the character. I just thought there should have been a little more, um, uh, I don't know, like consequences to her leave. It just seemed like that sucks. Moving on.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't. I don't know how I feel about the whole Bix. Like when she first left, I didn't quite like it. I was like, you could have discussed this with him. You could have been like, hey, listen, I need you. I'll stay with you, but you have to keep doing this. However, then knowing it was because of the baby, she found out she's pregnant and said, oh, this child's going to weigh him down and he's not going to go out and do these risky missions. I have to go take the baby and me away from him so he'll do it. Not a good biblically minded thing to do, I would say.
yeah.
Not that you could not convince me that that's a good Christian thing to do. But
Yeah.
they're not
in
claiming to be.
universe, in the story itself, like
Yeah.
you get it, you can see the argument.
So knowing that, okay, she found out she's pregnant, I was like, okay, this is gonna hold Cassian back. I know he's meant for greater things. The whole force sensitive person was also in this arc, and convinced her of that.
So what did you guys
Um,
think of that?
I
The
liked it
force
overall.
healer.
It was fine. It was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't like head over the heels like, oh, thank goodness they put the force in it. I was just like, okay, I like that.
I
This is
just
good.
wish there would have been like I don't know, some sort of lead up to it. It just seemed really that they're just hanging out on Yavin and this crazy old lady starts like touching his shoulder. And I'm like, what? I don't know.
I think it was the best thing is it convinced me that Bix was now convinced that he's meant for greater things.
Mhm.
Right.
And it got her to move with the baby to get away from Cassian.
So I agree, and I think that's
Yeah.
like the story device they were using
Yeah.
to give her that change of heart or change of mind. I don't know. I thought it could have been written in that I don't know. I think there needed to be an introduction to this force healing lady that makes sense or that you care that she's touching Cassian's shoulder, and I don't know. I just thought it was just
I like
very out of left field.
I like Cassian's reluctance to the force, and like we see that too in Rogue One with the guys
With Chirrut and
Chirrut and
Baze.
Baze, yes.
Malbus, yeah.
Like Chirrut is force sensitive, and he's like he doesn't believe all that malarkey, and same thing with this lady, and then it's because of his mother Marva is like, yeah, she doesn't believe that, and it kind of reminded me of like the charismatics, like the healing and stuff like that, like that's immediately like when he found out that she was like a force healer, he's like, oh, get me out of here, what's this crap,
Another one of these crazy ladies,
yeah.
That's good. All right, so Jordan, you had arc 2 over arc 1. So do you have arc
3 over 2.
3 over 2?
3 over,
Okay, so
yeah.
so we are a consensus 3 thus far. Consensus 3. Okay, great. Arc 4, wrap her up, Brent. What happened?
Oh, arc 4, we get Luthen dying. Love that character, favorite character. Dying very quickly, stabbing himself, get his whole backstory with Clea, which was fantastic. I really loved that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then they break Clea out of Coruscant after she kills Luthen, so that way to save him from being tortured. And then just kind of get a wrap up of loose ends on Yavin after they get her off of Coruscant, go to Yavin, and we get kind of like the infighting of the rebels, and now they're all set up for is now reaching out, and they have things coming together on the Death Star, informing the rebels about this sinister plan.
Yeah, for me, I think, like I said, basically everything from the start of episode 10 to wherever it was that they rescued Clea off of Coruscant. I think that was like the best. I don't even remember if it was an episode and a half or 2 episodes, whatever it was. Like that was peak season 2 Andor. But then I just didn't care for the kind of wrap up at the end. But Clea, she really grew on me this season in particular, and not just the end. Like even right from the very beginning, I really enjoyed her character, her presence, like just you could tell the urgency that she felt in the mission, in the rebellion, in this whole thing right from the very beginning. So really liked Clea. And Luthen, like, what can you say? Luthen's just the best. Like, just such a well acted, such a well written character. Just awesome.
Well, I liked Clea because I think it was when she was talking to Vel, and Vel said something to her along the lines of like, "What are you doing?" And then Clea was just like, "I am balancing so many swords in so many places. Like there are so many things happening that you can't even understand." It's like you realize how integral she actually is to this whole thing. Where like Luthen's like the big picture guy, but then
I would argue, I think that Clea, like I think everything Luthen is doing is basically to allow Clea to do everything that she did. Like I think she's actually the one kind of pulling all the strings, making all the connections, doing all the communication between all the hundreds of little rebel pockets. And Luthen is just, doing the dirty work that lets her do all that
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff that actually matters.
I think I saw it, or it might have been Skarsgård in an interview said that he is pretty much the extension of Clea, and he's
Yeah.
making up for what happened to her family. Like, he was a part of killing her family,
Yes.
and then from that point forward, he is her vengeance. Like,
Yeah.
he is the face of her vengeance, and that getting her up to speed and like making sure that the vengeance she wants to get is going to happen.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
seeing
what I
that
think that
episode was
flashback.
yeah.
I think that whole flashback, that's basically what they're telling us, is that
Yeah.
he's just like, okay, we can do this. Is this what you want? Like,
Yeah.
press the button.
Yeah.
And and then and then from that moment on, it's like Clea's just vengeance packed against the Empire. Yeah.
No, yeah, and also, like, she wasn't an insufferable feminine character. She
No.
wasn't this girl boss,
Yep.
and that's what I love about
Totally.
the show. And that's the other thing too about the whole, the Vel thing and the lesbians. Like, they didn't push them up and make them these girl bosses that are indestructible. Like, Vel was actually kind of a whiny character, that you didn't love to hear from. Like, oh, I thought she was going to be somebody who went over to and gave information about the rebels. She was looking kind of suspect, like, she wasn't happy with how
Yeah.
it was all going. Every character has huge flaws in them. Luthen has huge flaws in him. Cassian has huge flaws in him. Everybody does. Bix does. That's why, like, they didn't put people up, especially do the girl boss thing with the women characters.
Yeah.
They stayed very in their lane of a believable character instead of making them, oh, they can do anything. They can unlock a door. They're great with the weapons. They can take down a 200-pound man. Like, no, that didn't happen in this show. And it didn't preach to me like, oh, a woman can do anything she wants. It's like, no, she played her role. Clea played her role so well. It was very believable.
She took
she was
down the
great.
Empire with her ham radio.
Yeah.
Right? Not with her, like, not because she beat the crap out of a bunch of 200-pound guys and, like, did all, that's the tricky part when you have an element like the Force in Star Wars, where it just kind of, it's like, well, we can just give the girls superpowers.
Yeah.
But with her, like, with this whole story where the Force is essentially a non-factor, they did a good job of not of like having the women do things that make sense to their feminine attributes, right? Like, they like yeah. Anyway, they did a good job. It wasn't insufferable Mary Sue's after Mary Sue moments, and Clea was awesome. I really enjoyed her as a character.
Yeah.
And it was, I thought it was really sad. Like, there was like a really emotional moment when she had to pull the plug on Luthen, and it was like her who had to do it, but she knew she had to do it, and she knew that he would have told her to do it, and like, it was the thing that they knew had to happen, and yet it was like really sad.
Jordan,
could
did
tell
you at that up until she pulls the plug, did you think that she was going to save Luthen, or did you know the whole time that she was just going to kill him?
I thought she was going to kill him.
Yeah. Oh, if she hadn't, I would have probably been mad at the show, because like everything they told us about how he stabbed himself, he's on life support. There's no way she's getting him out of there. And if the show had tried to say, oh yeah, she got him out, then it would have been like, how was this little girl gonna carry this?
And
big
so,
man?
and that's what I was like.
Yeah.
I agree. And so in my head, I thought the whole time she was going to try and save him, and then in the end realize that she has to kill him.
Yeah.
But she just knew the whole time she was going to
she
kill
knew
him.
the whole time.
Yeah.
No, that's why. Yeah, this show's different from how any other Star Wars Disney product would have handled it. They would not have. Yeah, they wouldn't have done that. They would have tried to save it, and it works so much better this way.
Yeah,
and
I did.
Luthen, just dying all alone in a hospital room. None of his loved ones around.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Clay's only loved, Cassian, but like, such a sad death.
Yeah.
But it speaks to what his character was. That's what he did to himself. He burned himself. He called it. He prophesied that. That's what I'm burning myself so others can see the sunrise. And that is such a fitting death for him, even though it is unbelievably sad. Yeah.
What do you guys think of the Luthen Dedra confrontation in the art studio?
I loved that she thought she finally got him, and he turns his back and stabs himself, and just like the look of just absolute horror on her face that she's just like she had him but lost him was brilliant.
Yeah, it subverted my expectations. They stabbed himself so soon in the episode. Oh wow, this is happening. Like oh yeah, where's this going? Love that conversation where it's like, oh, there's only 2 fake pieces here.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
gonna say, I don't know if you guys caught that, but what a good line where she's like, "Are there any are there any pieces where you like doubt their
Authenticity or
He's
they're
like,
fake.
yeah, there's 2 pieces in this in the studio right
So
now that are of suspect whatever." Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, such a
Yes.
good little back and forth where like they both know.
Yeah.
And yet they're both kind of just playing along until, she wanted to have her big gotcha moment with the
Her pride was her downfall.
yeah, and that's it. Like she's like wanted her kind of
Axis. She wanted
well,
Axis.
she's having her like supervillain moment where she has to have her like monologue to
She's having she's having her director Krennic moment, that's something that Krennic would do. Like, I got you. And that's what she wanted. She wanted to savor it and bring, and just bask in it. But he subverted expectations not only for her, but also for me. Like, oh wow, he stabbed himself,
I guess
that much
we're
make
done.
complete sense though. Like the character decisions make so much sense. And so often I'm taken out of shows because I'm like, what? No, he wouldn't have done that. Oh, they wouldn't have done that, but this show is like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Luthen totally would have done that. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So arc 4. We all had arc 3 as the best of 1, 2, 3. Where do you guys rank 4 over 3 or 3 over 4?
That's tough. I might give it to 4, because I really I love that Luthen backstory and death, so fitting. There was more action in 3. I enjoyed the conversations in the last episode. The way it just tied everything up, how the rebels still don't trust each other. Saul,
Saw's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
well,
is.
and
Like he is even more so than what you get in Rogue One. Like that dude is loco.
and
Yep.
like he's telling them at the end, like, and like he barely showed up in this season. I thought we were gonna see more of him, and he's telling them at the end, he's like, I don't trust you. You're sending your spies to check on me, and I'm not on Jeddah. And like, yeah, he's on Jeddah. Like
Definitely on Jeddah.
so like just and then Bail, like just Bail being kind of like this guy, rightfully so, staying by the rules. Like, you're going to get us killed, Cassian. I don't trust you. But then like ultimately saying, all right, too much stuff has happened. We have this guy calling, collaborating your
Story. Yeah.
story is like, and you're the only one who can go out there. Go. I don't like this, but you got to go. Like, it just all made sense, like those conversations. There's not a whole action to them, but like I like those details being filled in, and it's connecting us to Rogue One.
Yeah. So do you guys think this was Jordan, what do you got? 4 over 3, 3 over 4?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they just landed it so well. Like it would have been so disappointing if after getting to that point, the last 3 episodes didn't land. I think they just landed it perfectly leading into Rogue One. So I 3, 4, but I mean, I think 4 just because they landed it so well. I thought they brought it to such a good end.
K2,
Brent?
best droid in Star Wars we have ever, or probably will ever have. The amount of humor he injects is so perfect. It is.
Is he not C-3PO and R2-D2 just wrapped up into one? Where like he's got the cheekiness,
competence, and cheekiness of R2, with the intelligence of C-3PO.
Yeah.
But
and just like the humanoid, kind of aspect of C-3PO. But yeah, he's the best. Honestly, maybe the second best I would argue is SM-33 from
Solo? Is that Solo?
No,
from Skulls and Group.
Smee. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was the second.
He was
best,
also
yes.
great. Like they've been knocking the droids out of the park lately. Honestly,
Yes. The way Alan Tudyk portrays him, Oh my gosh, so good, so good. I saw something online. He was talking about like he pretty much like portrays him as a child. You know, like he's
Yeah.
just gonna say what comes to his mind. He's gonna be just blunt,
Is he
honest about
is
it.
he is he, oh crap, what's his name from Guardians of the Galaxy?
I don't know if Alan Tudyk was in there.
No,
He
not I'm just what's his name? With the swords and the no shirt, oh my
oh
goodness.
Drax. Yes,
Is
he's just like
is he
Drax.
just like Drax, right?
Yes,
Like, yeah.
very much like Drax. Yes.
Yeah, just saying everything that pops in his head and just,
That
like,
man you
totally
don't like is
innocent.
here.
Yeah.
Because so many times they'll inject humor into Star Wars, and I don't like it a lot of the times. You
Yeah,
know,
I agree.
C-3PO can get. I like C-3PO. C-3PO needs a Han, you know, to offset him. But the K2 is just the perfect amount of just humor and just likability, charisma. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. So what's the deal in Rogue One where Cassian won't let K2 have a gun?
Oh
Like, where
yeah.
does because he literally like the last time we see K2 in this is he saves Cassian with a gun.
Did he save him
Yeah.
with a gun?
Yeah, he comes in and blasts the Imperials in the hallway with one of the guns that he stole from
No, that's right.
one
He
of the
did.
stormtroopers. Yeah.
But then he drops it and picks up what that guy Hyatt Hoyt or whatever
Yeah.
his name, and that was scary, dude. His lifeless body. That was
Just
like
chucks him against the wall.
oh
Yeah.
golly. Yeah, that was
So yeah,
crazy.
that kind of was maybe honestly like the only continuity weirdness
Yeah, I
where
forgot about that.
like
I haven't
they
watched
didn't
Rogue
set
One
up
yet. Yeah.
they didn't set up Cassian's distrust of droids with this.
Yeah.
But
I don't
I
know.
mean, if that's the only thing.
The only thing I would say is maybe he doesn't want K2 to go into action. Because when did he ask for it in Rogue One? I need to rewatch Rogue One. I've been meaning to after watching this.
Yeah, I think if I'm just trying to recall, but like basically he like every time they get on the ship to go for a mission, he
Because he said she has
like
a
asks for
blaster.
a
Can I
gun. Yeah,
have
he's
one?
like, why don't I get one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
not
question.
a big deal if that's the only thing.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job. So okay, if you recall, we had a fun rating system when we were
Oh, boy.
doing Skeleton Crew, which was how many bilge rats out of 33 in honor of our friend SM33 and the bilge rat that was living inside of his head. Unfortunately, I scoured this show for a similar reference to a number, and I could not come up with a good one. Like how many rogues out of one didn't seem like a great rating system. So, so the best I could come up with is how many THXs out of 1,138 would you give this show? Do you guys know that reference? So in basically every Star Wars property, there's a reference to the number 1,138 because of George Lucas's movie that he made prior to Star Wars, which is THX. It were also where they get the name, like the THX sound studio, because the movie was THX
This is news to me.
1138.
I did not know this. Wow.
Yeah, so there is I can't remember, I looked it up. There was a reference in this season of Andor as well. It's usually just, like, printed on something or, it's like cell block 1138 in A New Hope, right? So you get that reference in almost every Star Wars property, but so that's the best I could come up with. So how many THXs out of 1,138 would you guys give season 2 of Andor? The official Reforming Nerdom
What's the
rating.
official?
I'd say 1,000. I guess again, right?
So-
It's a 9 or a 10. So I don't know. I'm not doing
So-
the math, but
I'm giving it because I would give it like as a whole like a 9 or a 9.5, which would be between, and Ben, you clown for making us do this, between 1,024 and 1,081.
Oh, wow,
There you
you
go.
legit did the math. Okay.
I just multiplied it by 0.9 or 0.95. So
there you go.
So
Fair enough.
If we wanted a 9 out of 10, which would be like what a normal person would rate things with, 1,024 out of 1,138, or 1,081 out of 1,138.
Yeah, I'd
That
say
was-
that the point deduction would probably come from the Lesbo scene, and maybe it would have been good to see some more of it. I'm sure we'll talk more about this. Like they could have shown a lot more. That being said, what they covered in one season
Yeah.
was outstanding. The way they bridged the gap within 5 years and did these arcs, it didn't overstay its welcome. It did so well. I would have been here for a 5 season of this.
Yeah,
I
like they
would have.
clearly could have done a season for each of these arcs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I might like this better because it didn't overstay its welcome, and it told it so precisely. Like I said, I'd like to see more of like Saul Guerrera and like what they're doing. Those guys seem pretty interesting. More of like Mon Mothma's doing, more of Luthen with his art dealer face on. But ultimately, they told a very good story in a little time span considering. So yeah, those would be my nitpicks, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm somewhere around 1,000, which would be a little around 9, maybe a little less than a 9 because of, like you said, some of the obviously annoying negative things, but
So why don't we
clearly
just
just
for
a really well done show.
for just a round number then? Why don't we just do 1,025 out of 1,138? There you go.
I'll accept that.
Yeah. So that is an approximate 9 out of 10, and I would say for the whole season that seems appropriate.
Yep.
For
That's
me,
fair.
because the first 2 episodes were like 7 maybe.
Yeah.
And then like from there on, it was like, okay, no, these are like solid 8.5, 9s.
Yeah.
The last few were like, no, these are like 9.5. Some of them maybe you could even argue a 10. And then you just detract a little bit for some of the Leslie stuff, but
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have a couple more quick comparisons for you guys, and I know this will be hard to do because this one's fresh and the other ones are not. But season 1 versus season 2.
I love
I-
season
I-
1. It's a
Yeah.
9 or an 8. It was a bit more of a slow burn, and I'm all for a slow burn. I like just a nice plodding along story. They were kind of different animals, and I like everything it set up, and then it just linked everything and went fast in this season. I'd say this was better. Like there's just more. It moves so fast. I could go back and watch some really cool episodes in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say this season, because I even got to the point, Ben, when I was watching season 1, and I said to you like, hey, this is
Yeah. Is
not
this gonna get better?
this isn't
Yeah.
like amazing, and then you pretty much said like, oh no, you're at the episode that it turns, and it absolutely did. And so it took about half a season though for season 1 for it to really, I think, become excellent.
Yeah.
So
I agree. If season 1 ended at halfway through, I would have been like, it was fine. Yeah. But then it finishes really, really well.
Yeah.
Where this one, I think it's similar, but the part that I didn't love was only like 3 episodes instead of 6. Now, when I say I didn't love, like it was still great Star Wars, but compared to the rest, I think there was more I liked and less I didn't like as much in season 2. Okay,
For example, my favorite thing about the first season was the Aldani heist. I just loved it. Like it was just so well executed.
was
But that
great.
was 3 episodes.
Yeah.
They couldn't do that. Like
No.
it's just
Have
a
one
completely-
action sequence take 3 whole episodes.
Yeah, it's just a completely different beast, and like it kept it centered out of characters we already knew, and that's why the Gorman massacre didn't hit as well as like the Aldani heist, because I didn't get to know those characters slowly over 3 episodes.
Yeah.
The Gorman just kind of got introduced, and it was very well executed. Wouldn't change a thing. It's just you're approaching the story in much different ways.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we all picked season 2 by, the slimmest of margins. So would you guys say season 2 of Andor or Rogue One? Again, I
I
know,
am
like
just-
completely different animals, but
I'm just
I'm
watching
putting you on
Rogue
the
One
spot,
right now.
forcing you to pick.
Yeah, I I just don't remember. I admittedly did not remember Rogue One very well, so I'm watching it about halfway through right now, and I like Rogue One was maybe one of my favorite Star Wars movies that they've made, and so it's just like that was so excellent. Um, you're not gonna make me choose, Ben.
Nope, I'm 100% making you choose. That is exactly what we're doing right now. Do it.
But I don't
Do it.
know, like it's hard because you can't have it without the like they now seem like they're
Yeah.
just blended together. Like how can you say one?
Hey, quit your fence sitting and pick one.
Okay, because of how surprising it was, and it stood the test of time, I will say Rogue One.
Mr. Baufman.
I was teetering. Rogue One has the best Star Wars battle. Like the
Yes.
battle going
Battle
above
of Scarif,
space
up and below.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it is so fantastic. However, I really love Luthen. I love the espionage and the conversations they have. I got to give it to Rogue One though because like it's the topping. Like I didn't have to have Andor, but
Right.
like Rogue One, and it sets up the original trilogy. Rogue One does a lot.
It's
for
got
me.
the Vader
Oh,
hallway
yeah.
scene.
Yeah, like that kind of tops it. Yeah, because like Luthen and the Fondor Hallcraft loved all of that, but like you have Vader over there. That's the coolness of that one. So I'm gonna give it to Rogue One. It's really hard to say that because I loved all the Luthen stuff and all the conversations they have that lead up to that.
Yeah. So for me, this one's actually pretty easy for me. Like I would pick Rogue One very easily over. It's again, in terms of like the acting, the quality, the cinematography. Like, could you maybe make an argument for season 2 of Andor? You certainly could, and I'd be willing to listen to that argument. But just Rogue One hits every one of my Star Wars beats that I want it to hit. Like
Yep.
every single one.
Yep.
I adore that movie. And I think it does a really, really good job in, like, I haven't yet, not for any real particular reason, but I will let my kids watch Rogue One. Like, it does
Yep.
a lot of what Andor does, but still in a way that I could show it to my kids.
Yes.
So for that reason, it also jumps up, pretty high for me. So to me, Rogue One is easily over either season of Andor for me.
I really am looking forward to finishing it and seeing how the last scene, like the final scene, lands with Andor and Jin, and knowing now that it's like you have the whole Bix thing, which we didn't really have that context, but then now it's Bix and a kid, and it's just like I'm curious how that's going to feel, knowing now where his story and seeing where his life ultimately ends in all of it.
So is there anything in season 2 of Andor or either any like storyline or story arc or character that you would like to see again on screen? Or that you think we will see again on screen?
I could see them
Like,
doing a Clea thing.
I was gonna say,
Yep.
I would say that the options are Clea, Daedra,
Mothma.
Bix, and
Yeah.
Cassian's kid. Like, is there anything there that you're like I really want to see that. Like, I hope they do some sort of content that gives us more of that.
I think it comes down to is who's writing it.
That's true.
Like I think I'd if they did a Clea story and then they hand it off to whatever,
Girl boss, whatever.
like the Leslie whatever her name was that
Yeah.
made the Acolyte. I didn't even touch that one. But like if they hand that off to her, it's like, oh, I don't want to watch that. But
Yeah.
like if you hand it to somebody who's professional, like I don't know Tony Gilroy, but like it sounds like I think he made the Bourne series, and like he can write espionage, and he has like Academy Awards. Not that those mean a whole lot, but he just wrote a good story, and you could have coded it as Star Wars or something else. They could have been the French Revolution, like espionage story or Star Wars. I just want somebody to write good stories, and
Yeah.
it really depends on who writes it, and directs it. That will make it something I want to watch a story about. If Tony or somebody on his team or somebody of that level wrote a Clea story, yeah, I'd watch that.
Yep.
It really comes down to that.
Yeah. I think she'd probably be the one for me. I don't know how
Yeah.
they do it. Um, I mean, obviously, there's a way you can smush a story into the timeline
Well, you
between
could even have it
there
going
and
after.
sure, yeah, I
Mhm.
suppose,
Yeah.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
I mean, you could have her like riot being part of the resistance against the First Order. Even, you know what I mean? Like have something between episode 6 and 7 kind of thing. So, yeah, I think she was the character where I'd be like, I could have
I'd
more
totally
of her.
watch her and
Yeah.
Luthen doing their thing on Coruscant. Like,
Or
yeah,
even just like a
yeah,
rogue or sorry, a Andor prequel of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's just them, no Cassian, no I mean, they're the 2 best, so like I said earlier, my favorite scenes mostly were on the Imperial side of things. I really enjoyed that, but of the, quote unquote "good guys," it's clearly Luthen and Clea that stole the screen time.
yes, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And by the way, like Mothma, like she was
Yeah,
fantastic. Like her
she did do
acting,
a good job.
like I don't identify with her as a character, but just like her acting and how she portrayed everything, found it completely believable, and her acting execution of the character was excellent. So well done in a couple different instances where I'm like, oh wow, this is peak
Yeah.
television.
And I thought there was a good little turn at the very end in that last episode. I think it was the last episode when they're like sitting around the table and Cassian's giving his report and Bale's giving him the business. He's like, "We haven't even seen Luthen or heard from Luthen in a year." And he was like, "Oh yeah, you mean the last time when like his last order that he gave, which was to save Mon Mothma from the
Yeah,
Senate?" And he was like, "Fair enough." Yeah,
duly
good point.
noted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just good combos. Like if you don't know who those characters are, they don't have the impact, of like what they're saying.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like I don't know if you guys ever watched Mad Men, not a very good Christian show, but like the characters had so much. You knew who they were, so then when they have these conversations, you know who is talking to who and what those words mean when it's
Yeah.
coming from this guy going to this guy. And by the end of this season and the end of the show, you're just like, oh wow, these two guys going at it and the conversation they're having means so much more than if I had just been put here in this moment and not seen the character development from that point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. True.
What do you guys think in terms of future content of Star Wars that doesn't have Jedi, Sith, very little Force? Because it's like had very little of those like typical Star Wars things, right? There's no Jedi, there were no Sith in the show, no lightsaber battles,
Yeah.
very minimal Force powers. What do you guys think that works? Like, do you
Oh
want
yeah,
to see more of that, or does
I
it have
think
to have?
I think it
absolutely.
works, but only in uh small doses. Like I think this is great, but like I kind of do want like I think Star Wars is a certain thing, which is Jedis and lightsabers and the Force. Like that is Star Wars at its core. Can you have peripheral stories where that's not the focus? Yes. But don't go make those the focus of what Star Wars is or becomes, is my opinion.
I think too. So this show and Rogue One, it paints a lot of gray, um, and you don't have the Force involved. When you have the Force involved, the
Yeah.
original trilogy, it's black and white. The Force, the good versus evil, the Sith versus the Jedi, and that's why it's such a good kids show. It's like, hey, I don't have to tell my kids why Cassian killed that guy. Like there's so much gray in
Yeah.
this, and that's another reason. There's multiple layers why this is not a kids show, and
Which is one of the reasons I think 7, 8, and 9 failed is they tried to gray out
yeah,
the Force and the Jedis as
yeah.
well.
It's such a like it's comically black and white,
Yeah.
like it doesn't even have to give you a backstory as to
No.
why Vader is evil when you see the
And
original
it's like
trilogy.
one of
Yeah.
them uses a blue lightsaber and one of them uses a red lightsaber, even just like in case you didn't get it, Like even just like the color of their lightsabers tell you who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
Yeah, and Star Wars it needs to have that black and white, that childish, like, hey, this is clearly good versus evil. It
Yeah.
needs to have those. The majority probably needs to be that. I'm all for it for these adult shows, especially on this level. And I think the execution was great. Like, it wasn't like so adult, like where it's at the HBO show where they're like really just standing on my Christian principles and trying to tread it out. Again, it's not, they weren't preachy to me. I've seen some really bad HBO stuff where it's like, golly, this is just bad. This is not good for my eyes. And like, this wasn't perfect, but like overall, like for an adult show, like it was really clean overall, considering what our culture puts out there for an adult show. And I'm here for it. So I don't think it should be the majority of Star Wars. But I'm down for more stuff like this, and doing like, military stuff. There's so much cool stuff you can do with the Rogue Squadron, which I think they have a movie with Ryan Gosling. I can't tell if that's happening.
I know.
They
I'm
do.
like, is this AI or is I just can never
No.
tell anymore.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's called Starfighter, coming out in 2027.
Which I don't know what to think about that.
I think so. It depends on who's writing and directing it.
Yeah, because like the idea of it could be fantastic. Like like the Rogue Squadron stuff in like the EU, and like that was all the best. Like Wedge Antilles, and it was fantastic.
In Andor, when he's coming in hot with the U-wing, and General or Admiral Radis says, "Oh, it's a good thing that Merrick's not here. He'd shoot him down." Merrick was the guy, the blue leader guy, who goes and backs them up on Scarif. And I like that guy. He's like such a 70s original trilogy with his mustache. He looks so manly. Like, that's your captain. Like, that is your blue leader, and he dies in Scarif. Like, and that mention, like, if you're not familiar with Rogue One, you don't even know. Well, even if you just watch Rogue One as a normie, you don't know who Merrick is, but that's who that guy is. He's like, it's a good thing he's not here. He would have shot him down. Like, I like the male characters they had in this. Cassian was such a guy of action, and so was Luthen. And they didn't, leave it up to the women to make all the right choices, and it was just really well executed with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. Any closing thoughts, guys? Anything we didn't hit specifically, just going through the arcs? Anything you wanted to mention?
I think we covered it. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did a good job of going through all of this. I know we jumped around a little bit, but overall, I feel like you did. Yeah, pretty good job.
90 minutes. We did it.
Yeah.
Way to go.
No.
All right.
Oh, wait. The baby. How do you feel about the baby?
Oh, I don't know. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care about the baby. If I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. I don't think the baby needed to be there to make it sad to know that he dies and he had a love interest.
I actually think it would have been better. It wouldn't have made sense because it jumps a year. But like, I actually wish she would have just been pregnant instead of actually having the baby there. I don't know. When I said like, is there a character or a storyline that you want to see? The one I want to see the least is Cassian Jr. Yeah. I don't care.
People have been speculating that it's Poe Dameron from the last trilogy. I'm like, I don't care. Like, what? Yeah, I if he is, okay. Like, sure.
Well, now that you say that, I feel like that doesn't make sense, but maybe it does age-wise.
Yeah, it lines up. But I think he's if technically of the people who've been talking about it, again, I don't care. They say I think it's like 2 years off from when they set his birthday, and he was supposed to be born on Yavin 2.
I was just gonna say, I do remember seeing something a while back because Yavin is filmed in Guatemala, and he's from Guatemala.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaacs. So he pushed them to make his origin story to be born on Yavin. So I mean, some of it makes sense, I guess, but again, I just don't care. Yeah. Like that's one, like in Star Wars, I would say one thing I actually don't love is the how small the universe feels
is.
Whenever, like I like the idea because of like the Force and destiny and all this stuff that it's like that with the Skywalkers and their family. But not
R2
with everybody.
and
Not with everyone.
Being a part of the prequels, so integral. Yeah, George Lucas really made the galaxy so small when he made those prequels. Oh, he made some really bad decisions in those regards.
So I'm like, I don't want him
Yeah.
to be related to anyone.
And
or,
with the way they tell this story, I don't think it matters. I think it's just there as like just a more of like a punch in the gut, like a sad thing, and also a hopeful thing too. Is like, hey, he has a legacy,
Yeah.
to care. He has a child.
Yeah.
Was that executed in a Christian way? No, she shouldn't have gone from her man. They, all that, but like there is, God gives
Yeah.
us legacy. He gives us children. That is like the best gift we can have physically here on earth. Is children.
Like I
Yeah.
think that plays better if he knows
Yes.
that he has a child.
It
or
would,
that or that Bix is See, that's, I guess maybe
Yeah.
that's more what I mean, is that I wish he knew that Bix was pregnant
That would have been more of a
when she
gut
left.
punch.
Because I think his decision to still go to the end.
They wrote themselves into a corner though with how he acts around Jin,
That's true.
in Rogue One.
Yeah, that's true.
If they had planned this from the start, you could have him, and like not like he acts like attracted to her, but like there is kind of like, all right, if Bix has been gone that long,
yeah.
like maybe there's something there, but like
No, I think you're right. And that
if he did have a child and he
color their
was with
decision.
Bix the entire
Yeah.
time, it does make it look a little off with him acting the way he does around Jin. Not that he does anything necessarily inappropriate or anything in Rogue
No,
One.
but it's just like,
if he had a child,
your wife and kid are out there somewhere. It's like-
exactly, yeah, that would feel bad. Yeah,
okay. Now I agree. You're right. I'm wrong.
oh, I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be much more impactful if he knew he had a kid and her at home. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? We covered the
No.
baby. All right. Good
Yep.
job. Gentlemen, in less than, or in a little over 90 minutes, we covered 10 and a half hours of Andor season 2 content. Awesome. Listeners, if we missed anything, which we obviously did, and you want to chime in, please let us know. Leave a comment, send us a message. We'll
Join us on Discord.
Join us on Discord. Make fun of us there, and we'll try and redeem ourselves maybe on the next episode if you have some stuff to say. Next episode, Jordan, I wanted to mention for all of our Discord listeners, I think we need to reopen the which supervillain is better to rule our country than Mark Carney, because we had some great submissions from some of our Discord listeners, and I think we need to
We could
revisit.
definitely do a part 2.
Yeah.
We had way too much fun doing that, and people chimed in and provided some excellent additions. So yeah, I mean the number of people who would be a better prime minister than Mark Carney is proving to just be vast.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You know what? We could probably add Director Krennic.
I think so.
Partagast. Like,
Partagast,
Krennic,
any number of
dude.
people.
Partagast is better than like even really good man. Like Partagast was really good at what he does.
He was a really competent guy. Yeah.
Yep.
I enjoyed him a lot. I liked his character. I thought he was really
Yeah.
good. All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, may the force be with you.